Timothy to share with you the uniqueness of Midtown Modern in terms of the concept. Okay, so let's look at the overall market. This is a very recent news in January, all right? Private home sales see robust price gains in the fourth quarter, all right? Actually, private home value rose 2.1% in the fourth quarter. Isn't it a fantastic news? Okay, because even in a pandemic year, right, the property market in Singapore really end up with a high note. Okay, so such positive news will carry us into this 2021. Okay, but many buyers are actually asking me, right, what are the reasons behind it? Okay, everybody knows the headline news that the property market is booming. Probably your buyer will ask you, hey, how come with the pandemic going on, but Singapore's property market is still so hot? Okay. Here are the 10 reasons. Of course, everybody has a different view of the market, different reasoning, but these are the 10 reasons I probably will convey to my buyers. Firstly is the quantitative easing and government spending. Secondly is the uneven economic performance. Thirdly is the rallying stock market. Okay. Fourth, liquidity from previous en bloc cycle. Fifth, hot money from overseas. Okay. Sixth, geopolitical influence and fresh investments into Singapore. Seventh, dropping inventory levels of unsold units. These are kind of supply side reasons. Okay, dropping inventory and government land sales supply crunch. They are not selling lots of land into the private sector. Okay, but on the demand side, we still see deferred pent-up demand that is coming into the market very strongly, and also the last but not least, a psychological shift after the pandemic. Let's go into these sectors one by one. All right. So on the QE part, this is the early article last year, March. All right. So the US Fed says they are taking aggressive action is needed to revive the economy hit by the pandemic, and they started so-called unlimited quantitative easing. Right, and lately we are seeing that Biden is to propose another $2 trillion of extra spending to support the U.S. families and also their business. Okay, so all these have an impact in Singapore because Singapore is so transparent, so open to other economies. Okay, another article. Fed holds rate steady near zero and indicate it will stay there for years. Okay, how many years? So let's look at the lower part of this article. So from now until 2023, okay, almost 2 years later, they project to keep the interest rate as low as near zero. Okay, so the cost of lending will be very cheap. Okay, how about in Singapore itself? All right, we all know that the government has rolled out quite a number of different budgets, including the solidarity budget to help tide through the circuit breaker period, and also the fourth budget set aside $33 billion more to help workers and businesses. Okay, so all this money, think about it. When the money goes into the consumer's market pocket, goes into the business pocket, right? All this money eventually will go into business owners, okay, the bosses' pocket, the richer people, okay. So this money again will recycle into the asset market after they get the money, right? So let's look at how previous QEs have influenced Singapore's market, okay. So after the subprime crisis, or we call it global financial crisis, in 2008, the Singapore's property price actually dropped sharply. Okay, then the United States start to print money and roll out 3 rounds of quantitative easing. Okay, so the first round, the US Fed actually came out with $1.5 trillion, and QE2 they give $600 billion. Okay, so QE3 another 600 billion until about 2014, then they stopped. Okay, in terms of the first 2 rounds of QE, it actually helped to lift Singapore's private residential prices by 52%, and until the QE3, the overall market increased by 62% until the cooling measure actually kicked in. We all know the most influential one would be the TDSR ruling, okay, which came out in 2013. All right, so another cooling measure, the latest cooling measure was introduced in 2018. Okay, so now another round of unlimited QE is happening now. Okay, at least US $2.3 trillion. Okay, so 2.3 trillion, look at it, is more than the total of previous QE1 and QE2. Okay, all the both QE1 and QE2 totally inject about 2.1 billion, but now it's 2.3 billion. So what will be the influence, the impact on Singapore's property market? All right, second factor, uneven economic performance and recovery. Okay, of course, we are seeing that certain economic sectors are badly impacted by this pandemic, especially the tourism sector, the hotel sector, as well as the aviation sector. All these sectors rely on the global travel. But now, but however, on the other side, certain sectors are expanding, including tech giants, logistics, biomedical, and manufacturing. If you have read the latest news, right, manufacturing actually achieved double-digit growth last year, right, in Q4. Okay, this is very remarkable and shows how resilient some of these sectors can actually help the overall economy to actually rebound from the pandemic. Okay, right during the financial crisis, we also see that Alibaba, one of the China tech giants, actually bought half stake from Perennial, okay, in the AXA Tower, right? So AXA Tower itself actually hosted the subsidiary Lazada, all right? So Lazada is now they are Alibaba will together with Perennial Group to redevelop AXA Tower into a new Grade A office. Okay, so all these fresh injection of funds into Singapore are also shows a confidence, all right? All these tech giants, the newer generation of rich people, they are believing in Singapore's economic story. All right, third factor, stock market are rallying. If you have clients lately that have invested in stocks last year, right? Okay, the stock price for STI's Straits Times Index has increased from about 2,300 points to around 3,000. Okay, so this is almost like 30% increment. Okay, look at the Dow Jones. The price index has increased from about 18,000 to all the way 31,000. Okay, so this is another about more than 50% increment in the share prices. Okay, so I myself actually have clients who actually hold tech shares, right? Like we talk about Shopee, all right? Shopee price, the stock price has more than 10 times since the IPO. Okay, so all these people, the new millionaires are being created from stock market. Okay, so but stock market is eventually still a very fluctuative asset class, right? So some of the money will flow into the property market, all right? So lately my clients but those who bought the Clevo and looking at REIT, right? They are all these stock market millionaires. Okay, liquidity from previous en bloc cycle. Because en bloc cycle, right? Typically, the money, eventually the bulk of it goes into the seller's pocket only like 6 quarters after the en bloc sale the deal is inked. Okay, so eventually the previous en bloc cycle happened in 2017 and 2018, but bulk of the money will actually flow into the seller's pocket, right? End of 2019. Okay. So how much is the total collective sales proceeds? It's about 20 billion. Okay. So how to comprehend this 20 billion? Because we all see very number already, right? Yeah, $1 billion. Okay. Even without mortgage financing, this cash can translate to 10,000 private property purchase of average 2 million each. Okay, this is how big is the amount of $20 billion. Okay, all right. So fifth point, hot money from overseas. Okay, this is an article back in May last year. Okay, so non-resident deposit in Singapore jumped 44% to record 62 billion in April. Okay, so 1 month alone, Singapore attracted so much of foreigners' funds. Okay, why is that so? Because Singapore is a safe haven to foreigners. Actually, you look at it, every time when crisis happens, all right, Singapore's banks actually absorb a lot of foreign funds. Right, so let's look at the 2 lines. Okay, so in terms of USD, right, you see when the global financial crisis happened, it was the peak of Singapore's foreign deposit. Okay, the second peak was in 2013. Okay, now it's the next peak already. You see the increment in foreigners deposit is very steep. Okay, so let's look at this index, and does the trend actually somehow mirror URA property price index? Actually it does. Okay, all the previous peaks of the this chart, right, actually coincides with the peaks of URA property price index. Okay, so with the fresh funds coming in, we are expecting these funds, some of it to flow into the Singapore property market and help to boost the property price as well. Okay, 6th point, geopolitical influence and fresh investment. Okay, so we are facing 3 main geopolitical tensions that drive flight to safety. Okay, so as we said before, in terms of such uncertainties, right, foreigners tend to ship their money into Singapore for safety. Okay, first is US-China trade war. Okay, so the trade war is still ongoing, and China's dispute is not only with US. Actually, they have dispute with Canada. They have dispute with Australia as well. Okay, so this really impact China's export and import stories. Okay, so secondly, Hong Kong's national security law, because Hong Kong is all along very competitive city in terms of competing for the Asian financial hub status with Singapore. Okay, but Hong Kong's late uncertainty about this national security law, right, really attract a lot of attention into Singapore. Okay, China's uncertain internal political environment Okay, this is also driving the money out of China. Okay, let's look at the first point. Okay, so a lot of tech giants like Tencent Holding, ByteDance, Alibaba Group, okay, because they want to venture overseas, but they are facing a lot of difficulties entering the market like the US, the Europe, and Western countries, and also India. Okay, so because of this hostile environment, right, they are looking at expanding their presence in Southeast Asia as the first step of their globalization goal, right? So Singapore has gained a fresh appeal as the base for Chinese corporations, okay? Because of the political tensions in Hong Kong and dispute of China with the US and other parts of the world. Okay, secondly, look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong has lost rich people's fresh funds to Singapore so far. This is last year. Okay, existing deposit stays put. UBS said. Okay, so UBS analysts actually have used the very strong word. Okay, overwhelming. Okay, most of these rich people have overwhelmingly chosen Singapore over the rival financial center Hong Kong so far last year. Okay, so recently we also noticed that the Jack Ma is a very hot topic, right? Because Jack Ma disappeared for 3 months and finally show up once in the media. Okay, so and the failure to list Ant Group actually trigger a fresh wave of uncertainty and also anxiety in the rich people in China's rich people. Okay, so they are increasingly feel the sense of insecurity and they want to flee to Singapore. One example is Haidilao Group boss, right? So Haidilao Group, they actually the boss came to Singapore a few years ago and converted to Singapore citizen. And lots of Alibaba's co-founders actually have also so-called achieved Singapore PR status and also establishing the new business in China, in Singapore. Okay, dropping inventory of unsold units. All right, so this is a chart from URA. Okay, since the first quarter of 2019, the unsold private residential units have actually consistently dropping until fourth quarter of last year. Okay, so we all know that when the inventory is low, right, the developers are more likely to push up the price, and also developer need to find fresh material for their business, which is land. Okay, another evidence of dropping inventory of unsold units. Let's look at the mega projects that have been launched so far. All right, mega project means projects with more than 1,000 units. Okay, so okay, Momentum Park is pretty new. So within 1 day, Momentum Park achieved about 1/3 of the units sold. Okay, J-Scape, we are at 92% sold, Affinity 83%, Florence Residence 69%, Riverfront Residence 93%, Park Esta 98%, Sterling Residence 95%, Treasure and Tampines, the biggest new launch in Singapore, also 77% sold, and Park Clematis is 73% sold. Okay, so developers are really running low on their stock, especially in the mass market segment. Okay, on the other side, government land sales has been very conservative. Okay, so let's look at this chart. Okay, so there are two ways the developer can get land, right? First is government land sales, which is denoted by the green bar okay, here, and the other way is en bloc sales. Okay, let's look at the recent three periods when en bloc sales was very active. Okay, so firstly was from 04 to 07. Second period was after the financial crisis from 2010 to 2012. Okay, the third wave and the most recent wave actually happened about 3 to 4 years ago, 2017 to 2018. Okay, one thing we realize is almost every 3 to 4 years there will be such a trend. Okay, and secondly, you see after all these en bloc hot years, after that, what does government do? Government will release very little land for developer to build. Why is that so? It's because government feels, actually governments are very overprotective of the market, right? When there's a lot of en bloc, they will feel, will there be oversupply of private housing, right? So they are concerned. That's why they sell little land. But what's the consequence? All right. After such conservative land selling, 1 or 2 years later, okay, the property price start to increase. Okay, this is the increment we saw after the financial crisis, and this is the increment that came in before the latest round of pooling measure. So government's land sales strategy is really another trigger for the market to actually being very hot. Okay. So after that, when we look at the latest government land sales practice, right, the new launches is going to be very limited in the second half of this year. The first half we are still seeing a few launches, but in the second half of this year, especially in the mass market, we are not expecting many new launches already. All right. As far as I know, I think in the mass market we are looking at the rise at Pasir Ris, and also there are 2 parcels of land in Sembawang. One of it is Province Residence. Okay, so all these are the remaining stock already, and we don't know when is the next one. So is the en bloc wave coming back? It's very likely, okay, because no matter what, whether developer makes much profit or not, they need to keep the business rolling. Okay, the first thing is they must have the raw resource, which is land. All right, so they are going back to the private market to buy land, which is the collective sales. Okay, let's look at this new sales yearly volume. All right, so in last year, the market actually absorbed 9982 units of residential under construction. Okay, this is more than the previous year. Okay, but this is but most importantly, look at the number. On average, developer sells about 832 units in a month. All right, despite the circuit breaker last year. Okay, remember this number, 832. Okay, let's look at the recent 1.5 years government land sales. This was first half of 2020. Okay, first half of last year, government in total supply about 1,175 private units. Okay, under the confirmed list. Second half of last year, it was the worst. Okay, only 755 private residential units were supplied in the second half of last year under confirmed list. And first half of this year is 1,015 residential units. All right. So, and okay, let's look at the 3 sites supplied in the first half of this year. So, apart from the EC site, there are only 2 private residential sites here. Okay, 3 private residential sites. One is in Lentor and 2 are in One North area. Okay, beside the One North Eden site. Okay, so all these are very limited, right? Because as we remember, each month developer is selling over 800 units. So what is this 755 units supplied in 6 months? All right. Literally, developer can sell off all these units within 1 month. Okay. So the other 5 months, what to sell? The other 5 months can only sell the existing balance unit. Okay. So the developer stock will continue to actually getting lower and lower. Okay, let's look at the demand side after the supply side story. Okay, demand side, we all know when was the last cooling measure, right? It was in July 2018, all right? The day when all the 3 projects, Sterling Residence, Park Colonial, and Riverfront Residence launched overnight, right? Okay, so how many years have passed? Okay, what is the logic behind this cooling measure? Drop of loan to value ratio from 80% to 75%. Okay, on the other side, that means the down payment for a property purchase increased from 20 to 25%, so increment by 5%. Okay, assuming we are buying a 2 million property, okay, 5% means 100K, right? Okay, so in 2.5 years time, probably is enough for a buyer to save up enough 5% or 100K. All right. So this is why all these buyers who were affected by the previous round of cooling measure is coming back into the market 2.5 years later, which is now. Okay. So we say demand can be delayed but can never be destroyed. Okay. So if even when you add a cooling measure, you increase the down payment amount that the buyer needs to fork out, right? You can only defer the demand to probably 2 years later, right? But those people who want to buy, who die want to buy one, okay? When time is good, when they save up enough, they will come back to the market. Okay, lastly, psychological shifts, all right? In view of the pandemic not going away soon, right? People have the urgency to settle down because Singapore, some of the Singaporeans, right? They are very global. They fly everywhere. Okay, so but now because of the travel restrictions of every country, right? Lots of Singaporeans are coming back to Singapore. And last time they can share a house with parents, but now because they need a long-term place to stay, they want to move out and own their own houses. That's why also they want to buy whether resale or new houses at this point of time. Okay, people need more compartments at home for working from home. Okay, so imagine your household has 4 to 5 people, including kids, right? If you still want to work from home while you don't interfere with your kids studying e-learning, right? You need more compartments. Okay, so this also creates an upgrading demand in the market. And lastly, of course, we all know that in last year, we agents never go overseas, right? So all these saved leisure travel expenditures can amount to 50K, 100K, that kind of amount. Okay, so all these expenditures, which is saved, can help to boost the down payment. Okay, this is really what happens from my own clients. Okay, because they never travel for last year, so they have this extra money, right, to think about buying a house. Okay, so I have finished the 10 points, all right, why the market is so hot. So let's talk about cooling measures. Okay, so who are most scared of cooling measures? All right, are agents scared of cooling measures? Any response, guys? You can actually type. Actually, to me, I think agents are not really those scared of pulling measures. No matter the market is good or bad, we still sell houses. And when the market is bad, it's easier for us to negotiate a deal, right? So who should be scared of cooling measures? Maybe the buyers and sellers both should be scared of cooling measures because buyers affordability can be affected and sellers profit can be affected, and also the developers tend to be more scared of cooling measures. All right, but remember last round of cooling measure, which project was the one that was the first one to launch after the cooling measure? It was the Trevor. Okay, how is the Trevor now? The Trevor is fully sold already. Okay, so actually you don't have to be over worried about cooling measure. And I have mentioned the 10 reasons why the market is so hot, right? So can one simple cooling measure tame so many beasts? I think it's very challenging, especially we look at the overall market, right? Who are the main buyer pool that is coming into the market? It's actually local Singaporean population or Singaporean PR, okay? And most of them are actually so-called buying their first house, okay? No matter whether they decouple the first one or what, but not many people are buying with the ABSD, okay? So it's very difficult for you to control the real demand into in the market, okay? It's not like foreigners, you can just increase the ABSD for foreigners. Foreigners are literally not buying at the current moment because they cannot come into Singapore. Okay, so let's look at some news, whether the market is hot or not. Okay, so there's one news article, new private home sales half in October after options curbs. Okay, so how these policy measures actually can affect the market. Okay, so the headline says the market sales is cut half in October because of the stopping of reissue of options. But I think this is a fake news lah. Oh, why? Let's look at some data. Okay, this is the chart that shows the launched units versus the sold units in the primary market, means in the new launches. Okay, so the blue bar is sold units, the orange bar is launched units. Look at October. Okay, actually October the sold units still surpass the number of launched units. That means developer sold more units than what they launched. It's actually a very good month. Okay, the October stock sales was simply because the lack of launches. It's not because people are deterred by the stopping of reissue of options. Okay, so October's number of units sold exceeds the number of units launched. That's why I say we agents need to spend more time or think deeper into the stories. Okay, we shouldn't be fooled by the headlines of news articles because journalists, they are laymen, they are not analysts. All right, but we are consultants, we need to think a bit deeper. Okay, so overall the primary market sales also almost like 5 times compared to the low in April 2020. Okay, so it's more because new launch market can be very fluctuative, right? Every month the sales figure can be affected by whether there's a mega new launch in the month or not. Okay, so resale volume can be more evident to show the market sentiment. Okay, so compare the past 2 years. Last year, 2020, the overall market sold 10,927 units. Okay, it's 18% more than the 2019. Okay, in a pandemic year, this is fantastic figure. And we all realize, you see the past two quarters, right? Third quarter and fourth quarter, the resale volume is extremely high. Okay, so one result is that actually in the current market, the number of listings, number of houses that are looking for buyer is actually very little, right? So it also amplifies the shortage in the market because both resale and the developers new sale market are lacking supply already. Okay, although we say resale market is less influenced by new project launches, but it also has evidence that when the new launch stock is dropping, people more tend to look at resale as well, especially in the for example in the mass market, right? Because all the new projects are really close to sell out. That's why this year people who want to invest may also tend to look at the resale market for the city fringe as well as outside central region. Okay, so which market segment actually offers the best value currently? Let's look at another article. Central region. Okay, this is a recent news article. Central region condos drive Singapore's property home prices to all-time high. Okay, look at this title. You think, wow, core central region is performing really well. Okay, but I think it's another misleading title. Okay, why is that so? Let's look at the comparison of the three regions in terms of sold percentage. Okay, so each bar denotes the number of total units launched by developer. All right, and the red color bar is the number of units sold. Okay, so let's look at the OCR region. Okay, OCR achieved more than 70% of the overall units sold. Rest of Central achieved more than 60% of all the units launched. Okay, how about CCR? Core Central region only merely about more than 30% sold. Okay, so CCR sales momentum is still lagging behind the overall market. Why is that so? It's because the CCR's property market has a very heavy weight of foreigner players. All right, so foreigners are not coming in to buy. That's why. But this is more of a temporary measure. Okay, to restrict travel by foreigners. But this is kind of human engineering in the process, right? So developer sentiments in core central are still subdued compared to the overall OCR and RCR. Whether is it good or bad or not? Okay, developers are very wary whether they can achieve a good sales figure. Okay, that's when the developer tend to give consumers a very good launch preview price, right? Okay, another chart. Let's look at the price movement. Okay. Okay, the three lines indicate core central region, which is the blue line. The black color is the RCR and the OCR is the yellow color line. Okay, so OCR prices are at all-time high already. Okay, look at RCR also. RCR prices are at all-time high as well. Okay, but how about CCR? Okay, CCR price is lower than the previous two peaks. Okay, that means when you buy a CCR property today, you are buying lower than 1 year ago. You are buying at lower than the 2018 peak and also lower than the 2013 peak. Okay, so essentially this is a very good window opportunity because you see the other two market segments are already at all-time high, But now, because of the lack of foreign buyers, the Singaporeans have this opportunity to enter CCR before it goes up, before the foreigners come back, right? And you are buying literally cheaper than 8 years ago, okay? Okay, now let's zoom into Midtown Modern. Okay, how does it compare with core central region integrated projects, right? Yeah, let's look at from the bigger units first. Okay, let's look at the 4-bedder entry quantum for Midtown Modern is about 3.6 over million. Okay, in comparison, Marina One is selling at 5.49 million. A Wallet residence is selling at over 6 million. Okay, and 3-bedder entry quantum, Midtown Modern only 2.2 something million. Right, Marina One residence 3.5 million, Wallet residence similarly 3.6 million, and South Beach residence is 5.1 million for a 3-bedroom. Okay, so when your clients want to buy Midtown Modern, it's about 1.3 million to 1.8 million savings compared to other similar products in the CCR today. Okay, or it's about 30% more affordable. Okay, and in terms of sizes, we can assure you that Guoco Land's product really features very livable size. Okay, no matter it's 3 or 4 bedrooms. Okay, and let's look at 2 bedrooms, investor's choice. All right, 2-bedroom entry quantum at Midtown Modern could be the estimated rental per month is about 4,500. Okay, the estimated rental yield is almost like 3.6%. Okay, how about Marina One? Okay, Marina One, Wallet residence, South Beach. We all can see the sales and rental data already. If you are going to buy the cheapest, Marina One 2-bedder is 2.4 million. Wallet residence is 3.4 million, and South Beach as well is 3.4 million. But although the rental is relatively higher, okay, 5,200 for Marina One's 2-bedder, 9,000 for Wallet, and 8,500 for South Beach. But ultimately, you look at the return number, the rental yield is nowhere comparable to Midtown Modern. All right, so when your clients consider Midtown Modern, you are helping them to save about 1 million to 2 million in terms of price quantum, and you are achieving a much better rental yield. How about 1-bedroom? Okay, 1-bedroom is interesting because our Midtown Modern's entry price is only about 1.1 over million. Okay, the only comparable that is left in the core central region is Marina One residence. Okay, it's 1.77 million. At this price quantum, I think lots of buyers cannot enter already. Okay, but at 1.1 over million, I think many buyers can really afford this quantum, and the estimated rental per month is 3,500. Okay, so use your calculator, do a computation. It's 3.5%, while Marina One residence is achieving similar rental. Okay, not much higher, but the rental yield is much less. Okay, it's about 2.5%. Okay, so consider Midtown Modern give you about 600K savings, or about 30% more affordable, and a much better rental yield as well. Okay, so let's go back to today's main topic. How does Midtown Modern compare to mass market choices? Okay, right. Because in the mass market segment, we all know that many of these mass market projects or the rest of central region projects are running low on 1-bedroom stock. Okay, most of it actually don't have 1-bedroom already. Let's look at Midtown Modern. 1-bedroom, if you want to buy, is at starting from 1.1 something million. Okay, but we compare to the 2 bedrooms for the mass market condos. Okay, Sterling residence, if your buyer is looking at a 2-bedroom, is over 1.3 million. Cambridge Hill residence is close to 1.4 million. Park Colonial 1.24, Penrose 1.4. All right, Park Esta 1.42. The Antares 1.17. This is the closest, and Park Clematis 1.16. Okay, Normanton Park 1.11. Right. Okay, so you see, if your clients have the budget to buy a RCR 2-bedroom, all right, they should have the ability to afford Midtown Modern 1-bedroom, and we look at the rental quantum they can achieve. All right, Midtown Modern 1-bedroom, you can easily achieve about 3,500. All right, we are not overquoting. We are just using $8.50 per square foot. Okay, Wallet residence, on the other hand, achieve $11 per square foot on average for a 1-bedroom. Okay, so we are very conservative to assume $8.50 here. Okay, Sterling residence, all these mass market condos, the rental achievable is hovers in the range of 2,700 to 3,400 range. Okay, this is a very transparent comparison with the neighboring projects. All right, so none of these mass market condos actually achieve as high rental yield as Midtown Modern 1-bedroom. Okay, so by considering a Midtown Modern 1-bedroom, you are not only getting a better location, integrated project, right? You are also getting a branded good into Guoco Land's project, and also in terms of investment. All right, almost all average investors can afford Midtown Modern. Okay, right? So and you can also achieve a better rental yield.
Can see my slide, right? Give me a while. Okay, first of all, thank you for allowing me to share with you on the design concept of Midtown Modern. I'll split the presentation tower around us. We will realize that we are actually surrounded by all these glass towers. So the architect's first reaction to this is that, is it possible for them to have something that is a bit warmer among all these glass towers, especially when we are creating homes within the city area? We definitely want the home to be warmer. Okay. So this is what it meant when this is what the architect is actually doing now. So it is actually a reaction towards the ubiquitous steel and glass tower, and they wanted to have a connection between these glass towers and these shop houses, and to create something which is warmer. So the developer has always been emphasizing that they wanted to create a green environment, and in Midtown Modern, this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to create a resort sanctuary in the city. So this will be the greenery concept that the architect want to create, which they call it a wilder beauty. So what is a wilder beauty? A wilder beauty is something that is not so manicured. You know, during the time we are having lockdown, because we have insufficient worker to really trim down the landscape, and somehow the landscape start to grow a bit wilder, and it attract butterflies, dragonflies, and even we see more birds flying back to the city. So the architect actually think this is a very beautiful thing. They wanted to create this in a living environment, especially times right now we have a very restricted movement. We wanted to create a different environment for people to escape, and it is still within the vicinity. So it's like you are staying upstairs and you just run downstairs to the E deck and you'll find all this. So this is the kind of wilder beauty that the architect is actually talking about. So the second important point from the architect is that they wanted to continue this city's living room. In fact, in Guoco Midtown, the developer has already started building up all these public spaces. But the architect here, they actually call it a living room, because a living room, it sounds like a place where people gather, people congregate, they socialize and they play. They wanted to create different environment with different feel and different ambience. And if you notice from this image, most of this living room, they have glasses and they are brighter. But when it comes to Midtown Modern, it is slightly darker, it is more cave-like, and it is more intimate. So there are many kinds of living room which the architect, they wanted to create. And if you notice, they even embrace the street into our development. So it can make the activities from the street will actually make the development a bit more vibrant. So what we can actually summarize over here is that the architect is trying to embrace the whole urban landscape and to be a total environment. So this is what I've mentioned earlier. The living room is a place where we have a lot of activities, and even street will be part of the living room for people to congregate and for people to socialize. And then the third point of what the architect wanted to do is that they wanted to create the best of both worlds. So you see from the ground floor, we can have the access to the buzz and excitement and everything. You have access to food, we have access to art, we have access to culture, we have access to entertainment, you name it, we have it. But sometimes we just want to have an escape from all this. And in this development, we can do so very easily because from the buzz and excitement, we can just escape to the E-deck within 1 minute. And then when you are traveling to the E-deck upstairs, you can directly enter into your tranquility and serenity. So what the architect has created here is like a self-contained, self-sufficient village. You need to have these facilities, you need to have all this escape, and yet we are within our village. So this is to illustrate that we have lots of arts, we have access to food, transport, retail, high-end retail, and it is just a very short distance away. So once we get up here, like what I mentioned earlier, we directly escape into the tranquility and serenity, and we will be entering into this kind of beauty. This image is to show that we have a 50-meter swimming pool. This 50-meter swimming pool is slightly different. There will be parts which will be exposed to sky with a lot of sunlight, but when you swim further, you will reach an estuary. And this is a part where people sit there and rest, and then you'll be under canopies of trees, and you'll be like swimming in the wild in a stream where you can have trees hovering over you. Okay, these are some of the perspective of the pavilion and clubhouses, which you can see that it is still surrounded by lush landscape. Okay, this is what we call the transporter connector. It transports you from the buzz and excitement of the ground floor into the serenity on the E-deck. And what they have created here is what they call a light shaft. So the lift in this light shaft, they will take you from the concierge area where you have enough of the buzz and excitement, and you just take the lift and you go right up into the landscape. But traveling through this light shaft will be a very unique experience, because the lights come through different times of the year, and it will definitely cast very exciting shadows to the wall and into the lift. This is the concierge area. This will be the first thing you see when you arrive into Midtown Modern development. And when you arrive here, you can choose to dwell a little more in this square in the F&B area, or if you feel you have enough of the buzz and excitement, you can just take the lift into the E-deck level, and then from there you distribute to your apartment. Okay, on the materiality, what the architect wanted to do from day one is that they wanted to create a resort feel. So the material that they have chosen is very tactile, very textured, very warm, so that it complements with the water and trees. So they wanted to continue this kind of feel into the apartment. So we have heard from them that they probably would go into materials like sandstone tiles, glass, or wood. So this kind of continuation, it is very important to the development, so that you will feel like one resort rather than a disconnect between the outside and the inside. And then from this image, this is definitely a new kind of luxury. And being a designer myself, I can tell you I'm very amazed. A lot of people, they may not be familiar with this kind of mood board, because a lot of you probably you are more familiar with marble, stone, and etc. But to create a harmonious and balanced interior, it has to touch all your senses. And therefore, the architect wants to create a new way of looking at luxury with all these textures, this materiality and tactility. Okay, let's move on to the landscape architecture. So by now, you probably already understand that the entire design approach is actually towards an urban resort. It's like getting into a sanctuary set in the nature where you can enjoy the outdoor fresh air and greeneries. So the landscape architect put that as their inspiration and adopting the metaphor of a journey up the mountain. So they mimic what the experience will be like when you journey up the mountain. So for example, like when you are at the ground floor, you are at the main ground, it's like a cavern, grotto kind of environment. And then when you move up vertically to the higher level, you will reach a forest plateau, and then you can reach the top of the mountain, which will be the top of the towers, which we call it the Castic Peak. So what they are trying to do is that they want to capture all these landscape feature into the design. Before we move to the site itself, we look at the external. The site is actually surrounded by 4 sites of planting, and not only that, we also have a variation in species and heights. And with that, it definitely increased the biodiversity, and we have very lush greenery hugging the whole building. Okay, in this image, you can see that the greeneries, hugging the building. Some are actually moving up to the facade of the building, creating a very seamless landscape and architecture. So as mentioned just now, from the architecture portion, the whole ground floor, it actually functions like a living room. But for the landscape architect, they call it an urban park where people can congregate and having activities. If you notice from this plan, there is a small exclusive portion where the residents can move up to the apartment and communal spaces. And this is where the architect has created the void, or what we call the arrival lounge. And this is where the light actually brings in from the top of the development into the ground floor, and it is completely sheltered. Okay, they have created this first garden, the arrival lounge. The arrival lounge is for the residents when they come home. This will be the grotto garden kind of concept. The grotto garden kind of concept. The lights actually allow the greenery to strive, and then in a cavern oasis, it's like the light coming down, and then it shines on this fence and then the boulders, and it will definitely enhance the arrival experience to the grotto garden. So after we enter the grotto garden, we move up to the E-deck level, which has a very large area of a landscape, and the 2 towers are actually apart. So other than it consists of mainly the facilities of a conventional condominium like the clubhouse, tennis court, swimming pool, you'll notice that we have a very beautiful forest plateau. Okay, what they wanted to create here is actually a very serene and tranquil space where people can engage in their activities to make them feel that they are actually out of city buzz, city stress, and the surrounding environment, the noisy surrounding environment. Okay, this will be the highlight of our Guoco Land project, which will be the Grand Lawn. You will see that this is actually the trademark of all Guoco Land project. Okay. Yeah, some more image on the forest plateau. Okay, if you notice, our swimming pool is not a conventional kind of a rectangular 50-meter swimming pool. So there will be narrow waterways where the swimmers can actually swim into, and then underneath the canopies, and then finally you will reach the garden where you'll find a jacuzzi, hot spring surrounding the greeneries. Okay, some more images. This is like a child. Okay, this is an image of a pavilion. If you notice, there will be different pavilions and it will be in different settings. Like for example, in this image, right, there will be adjacent water lilies, which it is a biophilic design in nature because it is biophilic in attraction to faunas like butterflies, dragonflies, or birds. You see, you don't even have to move to, you don't even have to travel to natural reserve to see this, because an established landscape with diverse varieties of species can definitely help to bring in all this. Okay, another area which is very interesting, which they call it a rain garden. A rain garden, you will see waters. You see, they start to collect water during rainy seasons, and then you have 2 rows of trees, and you have these hanging epiphytic plants. Okay, this is the rooftop level. The design of the both towers, it is pretty similar, looking out the best view of the cityscape, and surrounded this landscape is what we call a caustic peak. It is definitely a different feel compared to the main E-deck, because the main E-deck has lush greeneries of planting, but this is more like a peak, a more mountainous, where you can see rocks, you can see gravels, you can see borders on the ground, you can see actually the plants are actually coming out in between it. So in this case, when the residents, when they want to have a view on the cityscape, they won't be obstructed when they are on the way to the edge to view the city. Okay, this is what the landscape architect think it will look like, with the textured planting, with a lot of gravels, pebbles, where the users can actually walk on it, and there won't be any mass planting, and they are very selective in the selection of the plants, which in this case they will be using sculptured feature plants, and it will be coming out between the rocks, and this will definitely be a very picturesque setting in the garden. Okay, in summary, these 2 developments, Guoco Midtown Bay and Midtown Modern, has a very strong biophilic design approach in terms of bringing in a lot of greeneries with diversities in Rochor Bugis area. So I've come to the end of my slide. So I hope by now that you will be convinced, and you are able to convince your clients that when you are buying Midtown Modern, you are not buying a condominium with 4 sides of wall and with some facilities, because owning Midtown Modern is like owning a piece of what Guoco Midtown has to offer. And with the location, the seamless connectivity, the concept, the design, and the community, isn't this a very good product? Thank you.